I'm Will Jawando. I'm a civil rights attorney, an author, an activist, and council member in Montgomery County, Maryland. I wrote My Seven Black Fathers really as an homage and a love letter to black men and boys, but also to lift up the really transformative power that black men and boys have within themselves to counter the racist stereotypes and tropes that remain in this world about us. It's based on my life experience. I chronicle these 7 black men, and obviously there were many more women and other people of other races, but these 7 black men in particular, who only one was my biological father, from whom I was estranged for most of my life. I talk about him as an absent presence. He and my mother, my dad, a Nigerian immigrant fleeing a civil war, my mom, a white woman from Kansas, they met in college and moved to Maryland for opportunity, both economic and better understanding of their relationship. But it was a very fraught relationship, and I didn't have a relationship with my dad. And they divorced when I was 6, and we were very low income. And that absence created the necessity, like it does for so many, for these men to step in and fill the void. Whether it was my 4th grade math teacher, Mr. Williams, who helped me with bullying or helped me tie my first tie, taught me that skill. My stepfather, another black man who my mom remarried several years later, who was a printer with a high school education, who taught me the dignity of work and really interpersonal connection and spending time with those who you love. Or Jay Fletcher, the first openly gay black man I had ever met, who was a reporter at my mother's job where I would go after school, and he taught me things about the arts and taught me how to play tennis and took me to my first Broadway play in New York City. Or Wayne Holmes, who was the football coach and choir director at my high school, St. John's, who helped me literally find my voice and tell me it was okay and let me know it was okay to be more than one thing. Or Dean Samulia, who was the IT manager at my mom's job, who took me to Nigeria for the first time and helped me reclaim that heritage and ultimately reclaim a relationship with my own father, for whom I lived with us for the last 4 years of his life as he was diagnosed with cancer. And we were able to take a transformational trip to Nigeria just 2 years after Dean took me for the first time by myself. And this was my father's first trip in 30 years, which really kicked off our reconciliation. So this is a story about my life, but it's also a story about the transformational power that black men have to improve the life outcomes of black men and boys. I talk about this study, which was really a framing part of the book for me, that was done by the IRS in Harvard and Stanford, and it showed that in 99% of US zip codes and census tracts, that black boys and white boys from the same background, same level of education, same income levels, same parent, 1 or 2 parent household, had wide earnings gaps 35, 40 years later. And I was one of these children that were studied in this study. It was between 1978 and 1983, 20 million children. There were these 1% zip codes where that wasn't true, where what we would want to see happen, where black boys and white boys and children from the same background and same communities would be doing similarly well 40 years later. And I grew up adjacent to one of those communities in downtown Silver Spring where my mother worked. And one of the statistically significant things about those communities was that they had a higher proportion of black working class fathers in them. And it was a light bulb for me, and I had realized these men had an impact. But when I wrote this book, I met 4 of the 7 of my black fathers that I profile in that zip code. So I certainly had benefited from a larger proportion of these men, but they're present across the nation and across the world. And one of the things I hope that happens is that my story can demonstrate that we need to enable more of these relationships. Step up if you're a black man or boy to mentor and to father. If you're a superintendent, hire more teachers of color. If you're a public policy maker, fund after school programs, because these are life-changing relationships. I had a friend, Calfani, who was my best friend and was a mentor of mine, particularly in 5th grade when we met. And he was the cool kid, the good basketball player, but he didn't have these mentors. And unfortunately, while I was going to my mom's job after school, he was figuring out what to do because his mom worked 2 jobs and his dad was incarcerated. And he ended up getting involved in drugs, and unfortunately, similar story. that's all too often heard, lost his life in a drug deal gone bad. And I think about him every day. What if he would have had these men? What if he would have had these 7 black fathers? Would he still be here? I think he might. And for me, it's a reminder that we all have this responsibility. So I'm appreciative for the 7 black fathers I've had. I'm appreciative for the love and the wholeness that they gave me that enabled me to forgive and love my own father later in life, but that also set me on a path of productivity and to be a good husband and father now to my 4 children. So it's a love letter to black men and boys. It's a testament to the power of human connection, and it also seeks to destroy and tear down the stereotypical tropes that we often hear about black men.